What's up guys, my name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about the best Gambit Prime loadouts in Destiny 2. Now this is obviously based on a lot of my own opinion, but I gotta be honest, I've been playing a lot of Gambit as well as Reckoning, to be honest, because I'm going for that Reckoning title. I'm actually pretty close to doing it. I got a couple other buddies who have it, as well as the fact that a couple other ones who are very close to it. You know, I nearly have a full maxed out tier 3 set of the Hunter set, so I have nearly the collections badge, and I'm working on those emblems, so I've been playing a lot of it. I've been playing all the different roles for the different kinds of role bounties, and I have gotten to a pretty good list of the different guns, supers, and a decent strategy on how to use the loadouts for Gambit Prime. And of course, a Dychronic video would not be complete with a set of adorable fluffers near the beginning of the video. On screen now, you can see a bunch of cute things. You can say, "Aw," you can say they're so cute. You can do all those things. Basically, I put these things here for one, because they're cute and they're amazing, but two, because I also appreciate you guys watching my videos. You know, I want to do something different that allows you to want to be able to come into my videos, and on top of that, I just want to say thank you for actually watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and it means the world to me. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video, starting off with the gun. And first off, on the guns, let's talk about the different primary weapons. Now, I'm saying primary ammo, so it's going to be the weapons like not shotguns. It's going to be weapons like pulse rifles and hand cannons in either one of the slots in kinetic or energy. In my opinion, as far as primaries go, I like to go with things that are ranged, that have a very high amount of range to them. Now, not every person on the team has to have a ranged weapon, but I like to have a long-range weapon for invading and anti-invading, because you're always going to have to deal with some type of range because of the invader. So the best kind of weapons, in my opinion, are going to be things like Blast Furnace, Bygones, Oxygen SR3, Nameless Midnight, as well as a Midnight Coup if you don't want to go with the range, if you want to just start slaying out. You don't have to have everybody with range, but it is nice to have at least like 2 or 3 people with range so you can combat invaders very well. A little note on that as well, I would recommend staying away from the 200 RPM or faster scout rifles, because they don't reach out to enough range to handle every scenario. Now, whereas the 180s definitely reach out to those scenarios, and you're going to have yourself a good weapon. Next up, let's talk about these special weapons. In my opinion, anything with trench barrel, so Ikello shotgun or threat level, these are the best for handling blockers, any of the ads, or even doing boss damage. These weapons have always been the best DPS. Alternatively, you can use fusion rifles like the Loaded Questions or Jotun. They both perform admirably, both for weapon damage against random ads, damage against elites, or even boss damage. They actually do pretty good, and I highly recommend you take another look if you haven't seen, as well as the fact that Jotun is decent for invading and anti-invading, but a lot of people have been using it, so a lot of people know how to combat it. Next up, the heavies, a lot of anti-invading and boss damage. First off, Sleeper Simulant, my personal favorite for doing, for invading and anti-invading. Just kind of point and fire, and you'll be able to kill pretty much anybody. It's very effective. I honestly would think that more people should be using this. Next up, Thousand Voices. This is being used a lot. You can hit people around walls. It does incredible damage to bosses. Is overall an amazing weapon. Thunderlord and Hammerhead. Heavy machine guns are being used a lot lately. Just kind of rush your enemy as long as you're handling one enemy at a time as the invader. Alternatively, if the invader has a heavy machine gun, don't go out in the open very often. Kind of bait his shot. Let your teammates shoot him from the side. Because it's not something that's high burst damage. And lastly, if you wanted a legendary linear fusion rifle, Crooked Fang is still very nice. So as far as composition goes, I would honestly go with 2 to 4 long-range primary gun users. I would go with all trench barrel shotguns. I would go with mostly sleeper and heavy machine gun for the heavy slots, and the heavies will be used for invadings, anti-invadings, and DPS. Alright, moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the different supers. I'm going to talk about each of the different classes and the different roles, as well as a composition for all the supers. First off, let's start off with the Titan. Honestly, you have 2 options. Go with either the Fireforged Hammers or go with the Missile class. Fireforged is great for getting massacres. The regular super is great for getting lots of boss damage or just killing ads, as well as the fact you have Hammer Strike, which increases boss damage, can be the difference between killing a Primeval and not killing it. Next up, the Missile for anti-invading and for invading. It's also very good to use with Insurmountable Skull Fort. Get lots of ad kills with your missile little mini fist thing. It's honestly a very good underrated super, and you can get very easy anti-invader kills because they cannot stop you when you're missile through the air. Next up, the Hunter. You have 3 options in my opinion. You first off have Sharpshooter Celestial Nighthawk, which is very good boss damage. If you're using this class, make sure you're using the throwing knife to your advantage to be able to get extra super. People don't realize they changed the super and made it so you get extra super damage or extra super energy from getting those throwing knife kills. Next up, Blade Barrage for just general great amount of boss damage. Every single boss phase, you can basically throw a Blade Barrage. If you hit the whole Blade Barrage on the boss, it's very effective, as well as being very effective for invading and anti-invading. It's just very good burst damage super. And lastly, you have the Arc Staff Warrior. If you're trying to go for Massacre Medals, this is the best super in the entire game to get it because it lasts the longest, does the most damage output, is very effective at killing lots and lots of adds, as well as the fact that it's very good for surviving. Honestly, not good for anti-invading and invading, but it doesn't do really that bad. And lastly, the Warlock, you have 3 options in my opinion. First off, Well of Radiance for extra boss damage or just doing damage in general. You can also use it for invading. It's very effective if you want to get those motes strained at the bank for the Triumph. And that emblem, you can actually just put a well on the bank and just sit there with the well. However, I would watch out for things like Thousand Voices, Libra Simulate, these things can one-shot you. Next up, Dawnblade is extremely powerful for invading because you go so fast, you can get across the map very quickly. You're very, very resistant, as well as the fact that those swords, they basically track the target and it makes it very easy to get lots of kills with it. And lastly, the most common one, the Cataclysm Nova. Getting that thing with the Dire Kara to get your super back is extremely effective. Killing off those yellow health enemies, HVTs in 1 Nova Bomb, getting your Nova Bomb back very quickly, as well as shooting at those envoys. You pretty much get a full Nova Bomb for the envoy and his 2 little servants. So make sure you're using it on him, but don't use your Nova Bomb on the boss unless it's the last amount of damage that you need, because that thing does not recharge very quickly if you don't get kills with it. As far as composition goes, you have a couple different options. And my personal favorite is going to be 1 Fireforged Titan, 1 Nova Warlock, 1 Blade Barrage Hunter, and then 1 Well Warlock. On screen now you can see the different types of jobs for those different characters. You have Ad Clear, Boss DPS, and Invader/Invading. This is basically the list of those things. If you want to switch some of those out for those different slots, that is there for you in case you're interested. And that is pretty much it for the weapons and the supers. That is the bulk of the video. The rest of this is going to be about a bit of strategy as well as miscellaneous things about your loadouts. It's not going to be a full rundown of the full strategy, what you need to do in Gambit Prime. That's not what this video is about. It's about the loadouts and what's the best of it. So this last section is just going to be telling you some details about what I would recommend for the loadout. So the first little tip is going to be all about rushing to get that first invade, which also prompts a second invade that puts you in a hefty lead in Gambit Prime. Now the best way to do that is to have the best loadout for people to be ready on the blockers that are coming in, to be ready on the motes that are being dropped, to aid each other. Make sure you have the right loadouts, you have the right supers, and if you rush for that first invade, especially if it's a tier 4 invader, meaning that you can lock down the bank, you can basically tell the enemy to sit with their motes for 30 seconds, or you can deny a lot of enemy motes very quickly, and while you're doing that, the rest of your team can get their next set of motes and get a second invade while they're barely getting their first invade. Makes it so it's a lot easier in Gambit Prime. Next up, I would honestly save lots of your heavy for the DPS for the 3rd phase of Primeval Damage, because it's the easiest damage dump and it is easiest to avoid losses from any enemy invasion. So if you did not know, every time you summon the Primeval or you make it so you're vulnerable to damage, you get extra Primeval Slayer bonus damage, which means that you should save your damage for the 3rd or 4th phase of Primeval Damage. And once you get there, absolutely dump everything you have and you should be able to melt him very, very quickly. Use Hammer Strike, use your Nova Bombs, use your Celestials, and everything you got, all of your heavy all at once. As far as super usage goes, I would honestly use the ad clear supers as much as you can to clear ads very quickly, but save certain supers like Missile and Blade Barrage for invaders and invading. Something you can also use for invaders and invading is heavy. If you have heavy and there's an invader on the field and you have the right engagement distance to use it, use your heavy, it is worth it. And the last little section is going to be some miscellaneous things. For example, the 4th perk for bank locking on the invader class is game changing. Makes it so the enemies have to hide for 30 seconds, wasting a lot of time on their side, or they have to be standing next to their bank, not able to bank and being able to be shot by you're just coming in as an invader. So make sure you get your tier 4 invader because it is very important. Next up, taking armaments for tons and tons of heavy ammo. Basically a single taken kill with a grenade allows you to get like a full clip of Thunderlord or 1 rocket or 2 things from Thousand Voices. It's ridiculous how much you can get from it just from getting 1 grenade kill on a taken enemy. So make sure you have taken armaments on your armor. Make sure you're equipping the new Gambit armor for bonus perks when possible. You know, if you have the ability to put it on, make sure you put it on to get those bonus perks because a lot of them are very useful. And the last little mention is make sure you're using Gambit Synths for a +3 bonus to your points. If you did not know, these synths can actually be consumed for a +3 for 30 minutes on that particular one. You can only use 1 at a time. And that is pretty much it. That's the video for guys today. Those are the best loadouts for guns, supers, and miscellaneous things that I have, in my opinion, for Destiny 2 right now. If you had any questions about any particular thing, let me know in the comments down below. If you had any recommendations for different things, I know that there's a lot of different weapons, a lot of different ways you can use different supers for a lot of different reasons. This is just my general set that I could fit in a video. But that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.